A very warm welcome and very good morning in Hyderabad. It's almost 2 years when we met last in this building, and 2 years have been very, very different and probably extraordinarily different. It made us go through a lot of challenges and also tested our resiliency, tested our survival instincts, tested our humanness. But finally, we are here. A pandemic of this kind probably comes once only in our lifetime, and many people who are fortunate who have not even seen that. And I hope that it doesn't reappear in next 100 years at least. Well, I'm Sanjay Kumar. If some of you may not know me, I represent Geospatial World, and you know Geospatial Media very well, and we rebranded ourselves as Geospatial World about 6 months before. And that's also one of the outcomes of, I would say, a situation which we were in last 2 years. And that's the time when we start looking at what you're doing, what is your role, what is your value, what is the purpose of your existence. Because we saw situations where it was almost devastating, and we saw a kind of environment where probably a neighbor also was not willing to help each other. And that's when you start looking at what you're doing. And this 2 years not only has caused us a lot of pain, but also has transformed the way we live. And when it is transforming the way we live, it is also transforming the way we do our business, or the way we do our regular living. How do we bring our living? We are entering as an organization we are running right now in 25th year of our organization. We will be completing that on 10th of April 2022. And I would like to invite you and request you all to keep that date in mind. We'll definitely celebrate that in some place in India. And why I'm bringing this back of 25 years is that on the occasion of 15 years of our company in 2012, we hosted the first Geospatial Artha Summit. The history around that Geospatial Artha Summit is the fact that this industry or this profession in 2012 was still seen as a decision support system industry, or helping decision making, planning and decision making. And when we brought this Geospatial Artha Summit in 2012 in Delhi, that was the first time when the global leadership started talking about economic values, started talking about economy. I still remember when we were putting a theme of a conference in Amsterdam in 2013, monetizing geospatial value and practices. And we had to discuss with a lot of senior government officials that, is it going to hurt your feelings? Because we are talking of commercial, we are talking of monetization. And this was a situation not only in India, it was a global situation. And I see back to our organization, when I go back to the theme of Geospatial Map India conference in 2003, which actually talked about geospatial readiness. And after 17 years, we are talking of Geospatial Readiness Index. If I go back to theme of 2004 of Map India, it was maponomics. What is the economics of maps? So this happened at the core of our DNA somewhere, and then we culminated that into the Geospatial Artha Summit. And I'll take pardon from you all because I'm going to take 5-7 minutes extra today. So that is what is Geospatial Artha. And when we are entering into 25 years, we felt that it's time for us to actually bring this Artha back on our agenda. And that's when we thought of organizing a group of small people as a pre-conference to discuss about geospatial Artha. Well, the meaning of earth in Sanskrit, and I must say that I'm very influenced by a scholarly work of Chanakya and many more political philosophers. And then meaning of earth in Sanskrit has multiple meanings, like translating into all of that in means of life. So Artha is not just economy. Economy is just not money. It's about your purpose, about your value, about your wealth, and about your economy. So that is the tenet of governance when you're talking about, when you actually hear about Arthashastra, that is the tenet of governance. That is the tenet of living, or rather guidance or guidelines to live. And that's where purpose, value, wealth, and economy is so important. And so as it is important for our industry as well, that what is our industry purpose, what is the value which we create, what is the wealth we create, and what is the kind of economy we support, the way we support. So let's look at the Indian economy at a glance. We have double dip, and I hope that we don't have to go through the triple dip. So the double dip is the fact that we are getting back to what we were in April. We saw November GST collections, which was little higher than our collections in the month of April. So we as an economy in terms of GDP are taking ourselves forward. Of course, a lot of projections are there that next year it will be double-digit economic growth, but we have to see as scientists that from where. That double-digit need not be seen as something from the base, which was 2019. It has to be seen where we went down. So this is the kind of economic recovery we are in the process, and so as the gross value additions. So the Indian economy is growing in this manner, and it's likely to grow very fast. It's likely to grow very fast because what you see all around yourself. You look at the road, you look at the airports, you look at the shops, you look at even employment, it's getting better, better, and better. And this is the performance of the drivers of our economy. So if you look at this, this industry is driven by constructions. And if you look at the dip in Q1 was also in the biggest in the industry, constructions. But it is the fastest growing market again, followed by manufacturing and then trade. And these are the fundamentals of Indian economy. We are known to be agriculture-driven economy, but actually the contribution of agriculture in our GDP is not actually very significant. The contribution of manufacturing, constructions, and the trade kind of mining, they are in a very high, 25 years back, Indian economy was driven by coal, because that's what was providing us almost every form of energy, and we are consuming more and more energy, and where is it coming from? So those are the fundamentals of our economy, and those are the sectors which are picking up very fast. So look at what public policy reforms we have taken up, which is advancing India's economic growth story, which is we have India's monetary policy, which has been very, very encouraging. It is very aggressive, I would say. And that was the need of the hour, that we have to be aggressive. Strategic disinvestment, again, the shift is that the government means governance, not business. So the strategic disinvestment is taking place, and foreign trade policy is there. We are trying to increase our trade with the major partners around the world, and sectoral FDI guidelines, including space sector. So the FDI is increasing. So you have to see that where we as a country are on the one side talking about the self-reliant India, which is great, but at the same time, to be self-reliant, we have to be internationally connected. And that's where we're looking at sectoral FDI guidelines, that the FDI is very critical. And that means that you are looking at self-reliant, which is in the age of global competitiveness, in the age of you have to be globally connected, you have to be globally competitive. Let's move forward to the geospatial market and economy. My team, I'm so proud of our team who has worked very hard for the last 6 to 9 months to come up with some of these facts and figures. But at the same time, I would acknowledge a great piece of insight being shared by several industry people, both in our interactions as well as our online surveys. And that gives, the data which I'm presenting you is done based on probably 10 different types of data collections. And it has been brought to the table from different angles to actually make those corrections. It's like we do in surveys, that you create various kind of components to bring that correction. So, Indian geospatial economy, domestic market is right now be about 12,750 crores in 2020 and likely to be 14,050 crores in 2021 by end of March. So the growth which we are looking at in future, so the dip which we took in 2020 and then the way we are stabilizing, the growth we are looking at almost 13% CAGR in times to come. What is added on top of this is the export of geospatial services. In 2020, we did almost 10,595 crores export of geospatial services, and that's likely to grow by 2025 as 13,000 crores in the export of services. And now let's look at the economy, which is combination of domestic market, exports, plus government expenditure. So what is the government expenditure? Third is, the government has been spending almost about 10,000 crores in a year on various kinds of geospatial related programs. This does include a bit of GNSS and Earth observation capabilities across the country as well. Because we do consider GNSS and Earth observation as the drivers of, as the core component of, it does not include the telecom, but it does include the GNSS and Earth observation as well. The government spend is about 10,000 crores around the country every year. Unfortunately, almost 85% to 90% of this is primarily into the establishment and internal cost. The market of this, the market size of this is probably like what the component of this which goes into the domestic market is probably about 8 to 10%, not more than that. So don't get confused that it is again coming up as a market. So three pillars, one is the domestic market, export of services, and then the government expenditure, where we are creating a lot of knowledge. That is what is the Indian geospatial economy, which is at the moment put together is about 33,650, and this was the figure in 2017, about 21,000 or 20,000 crores. So what's interesting is this, that if you look at 35,000 of 2019, and if you look at 38,000 of 2021, we are almost there. Just the COVID impact was there a little bit, but it's going very, like, okay. It's not like taking a, dip like in other sectors. But what is interesting moving forward is, if you look at India geospatial sector market and how this market is being actually created here, again I would say that India is led by building and campuses. The fastest growth, most growth is there happening in building and campuses, and defense and intelligence. India is investing a lot into defense and intelligence, even in the geospatial sector. And land administration is one thing which is going to grow a lot. That's going to be growing a lot, I would say. We are always going to be make underestimation of this. But there is always a caveat on land administration, that there is a political will which is required. Impact of policy on geospatial industry ecosystem. What you'll see that service companies will move to be more of a data processing and data management companies, because now we have a new policy guidelines which allows them to actually get into the data capture. So instead of just doing surveys, they will actually get into more of data management and advanced technology integration. Data product companies will become more data product companies will become more partnered oriented, and they will be looking at joint ventures with foreign companies and probably making their own products as well. So a lot of data service companies would become the data product companies in times to come. And IT companies will start getting it more into solutions. So it's still a lot of IT companies which are primarily into the services sector. Now with the opening of the policies, they will get into the solutions because they will have a lot of data to play within India as well. Fourth is solution companies will become sector-specific solution companies, like system integrators who are more at the fringe will get into the market and start looking at developing solutions, sectoral solutions. And why that is needed? Because of the fact what I just showed you, that how the sectoral sectors like constructions and all are growing. So when they have the opportunity, but then to really harness that opportunity, you got to be actually building workflows which can integrate geospatial with their domain workflows. And this will lead to increasing requirement of hardware and software, at the same time new business models. So that's what is likely to happen. This industry is going to go through a very significant change. And if you look at, as I said, the 10 years back, it was more of a decision support system. Now you look at the benefits and value of this technology to be productivity, efficiency, compliance, and transparency. I would say that these are very, very important benefits of this technology, especially the productivity and efficiency. And that's where you start contributing to the economic growth of your nation, because you are not just helping decision making, you are actually helping increase the productivity and efficiency. And that kind of productivity and efficiency will be supplemented by compliance. And compliance is a very, very, interesting output, but this is the most challenging benefit as well, because this will provide a lot of resistance by the existing establishments because they don't want to be transparent. But thanks to our political leadership, I think we are pretty much there where we are pushing for this kind of technology adoption. Challenges and opportunities and the way forward in my last few slides. If you look at challenges, we did a survey, as I said, that about 500 people survey, and then a lot of interactions. Mainly the meat has come from the interactions. And 14% of those people have said that we have a challenge of reliable base data and standardization process. That's a fact that we don't have reliable base data. But now we have an open data policy, which means that you can provide the data. So that has been taken care by the policy. But the issue is real, what are in red. Lack of dynamic and technology, sound tender procurement guidelines. Those who are buying, they don't have the capacity, or rather, I would say, dynamism to come up with a very specific requirement that what they need. And then 56% said that a lot of tenders are actually unawarded. So you actually create a tender, but then you don't get through the process of completion of the tender, which means again, it talks about the lack of capacity at the state government level. Most of our projects are actually at the state government level. And so as low bid by technology service providers, we are also part of the same problem. So 70% of the people said that this is the real issue, that we actually bid low, and this also leads not to complete the projects. And 86% said lack of collaborative efforts between the national geospatial agencies and and the companies, which means that we don't work together. Primarily, the fact of the matter is that the national geospatial agencies, be it Survey of India and RSC, Geological Survey, Forestry Survey, all these institutions are considered by the state governments or consulted by the state governments while coming up with the tenders. But these institutions do not have the capacity to guide them or help them. And we do not work closely with the industry as well. So this is the biggest challenge. And I would say that if we as an industry wants to move forward with all the prospects which we have, then we have to address these things. And how do we address these things? These things cannot be addressed by the public policy reforms. These are the practical problems. And we all, as a professionals, have created this problem. So this is the kind of our internal challenges. We have been very successful in convincing the government to take care of many of these things. I think we have to be playing a better role in making this happen. And 90% payment delay in government projects. All this is a stigma associated with the industry. And if you want to talk about industrial growth, then we need to have a geospatial industrial development strategy. We have to move forward from policy imperatives or policy advocacy to the industrial advocacy. And for that, we have to organize ourselves better. It's onus lies on us, first of all, as geospatial professionals, be it from the government or from the industry, to organize ourselves better and talk to ourselves better, and then make a collective effort in moving to this direction. We have, as a company, as outcome of our discussions, we have come up with some kind of strategies which could be taken up. Creation of a Geospatial Industrial Development Board, which is already a part of the draft Geospatial Policy Framework on the lines of in space. Partnership and collaboration with the national geospatial organizations. I would say that there is, because my global experience talks about that, there is no way you can do away with the institutions. You have to empower those institutions, or rather restructure those institutions, create some kind of more cohesive institutions, but we have to have national geospatial organizations who would be leading public policy and the guidelines forward. I would give a very important push to creation of a geospatial industrial development fund, some kind of geospace fund. We as an industry need some kind of incentives. And improved process of project bids. Can we help and actually to institutions through AGI or through other organizations that can we help building the bids better? It's very important. We can't just stand watch it from the sides. Then enhance local manufacturing capabilities. I would request some of those companies who are into the manufacturing of hardware and software to actually enhance local manufacturing capabilities, because this will help grow the human capacity in our country. This will help grow, provide the capacity which we need. And then moving forward, public-private partnerships. I think the government has done a lot. We need to stand up and invest or co-invest in this whole debate. Public-private partnerships, the kind of investment which we need to make all this happen. There is a need for public-private partnerships, and geospatial incubation centers and contract R&D. This is something I think which I would really request the government to look at that, increasing that 5 to 10 years long contract R&D, because if any industry has to grow, they have to actually go through the contract R&Ds, because that provides the kind of scientific base for future. And finally, creation of foundation and positioning infrastructure. Finally, that's the base, that's the baseline. We all need to do that. Projections of actual policy, geospatial industrial development strategy, and impact. Let's see that. This is what I said is likely to happen on its own. And this is the impact of the policy guidelines. So you'll see the significant impact is already there. But this will be the impact of if we have an industrial development strategy. So in 2025, we could be 79,810 or 79,000 crores of economy. If you put 5,000 crores as an investment in 2022 as part of the industrial development strategy, just look at the gain would be from 63 to 79, which is probably 3 times straight away. Just 1 year, but if you look at the cumulative gain, it will be probably 20,000 to 25,000 crores from 49 to 79, almost 25,000 crores. That's the kind of gain will be there, and this is a very important aspect. And why we need is not needed only for our profession. Its economic impact will be very high. our vision of $5 trillion economy, where the government is investing so many lakhs of crores through various programs, all these programs are going to be successful and successfully deployed through the use of geospatial technology as well. I wouldn't say that that's the only technology, but this is very, very important technology, which is very, very important in industry. So how do you want to make this happen? This is the kind of impact in 2025 we will make, 19 lakh, almost 20 lakh crore. And this impact will be from these sectors. These sectors will actually go back to the productivity, efficiency, and compliance as a benefit of geospatial technology, which I talked about. So this 79 is our internal core, but what we are going to play a role into the national development is something like this, through the interface of these programs. And that's where I think it is very important for us to gear up and work together with the government and other stakeholders to make this happen. Thank you.